All right, fellas. These are some stream highlights from Artie and Fist, Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. in Across the Pond time. The link to the full stream is in the description. Here's what you can expect.
He's also a practitioner of a martial art style known as Yin style, Bagyua Zhang.
Hold on. Yin style. There you go.
Yin style. Okay, right?
Ching ching chong chong. Go ahead.
You know how fucking busy I am? Right. Lindsay is one of about a dozen people in the nation, handpicked by the Grand Master of this particular lineage, He Jinbao of Beijing, to represent it in the US. He teaches the martial art free of charge. Well, I mean, that's nice, right?
So, hold on. So he graduated in 2010, and then in 2012, he all of a sudden knows this martial art. Dude, I am calling bullshit on this lore. I'm calling bullshit on it, dude. That doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever.
No, you got to be learning it for a while, right? Like, we don't know how he came to know the Bagzhu Huang master, right? Maybe he was like drinking in a pub, right? And there's this like Chinese dude sitting there stroking his mustache.
Never mind. I completely believe this now because I completely believe this because I can completely picture James Lindsay saying this. There's no contradiction between the disciplines of massage and martial arts, Lindsay said. I see them as being deeply complementary. My teacher's teacher has information about how you can use the principles of the martial art to heal. It's old school Chinese stuff. Whoa, this guy's brilliant. 2 years out of school and I can barely wrap my brain around what he's saying.
He is focusing his chi. Right? Like, you must focus the chi will move through you, right? You make a movement, you are focused the chi, right? I mean, that's basically, I'm pretty much like, it seems like a sort of offshoot of Qigong, right?
No one really knows this about me, but I am a huge Kung Fu movie fanatic. I have many VHS tapes in my apartment. So, Qigong is a real thing. A practitioner is a real thing. They don't fucking say old school Chinese stuff. Yeah, I believe all of this is true now. I can completely picture him saying that.
Before he became known for the grievance studies affair, Lindsay was quite the fedora tipper, right? If you are old enough to remember the new atheism movement, milady, right? Where sort of hard, like the most cringe version of hard materialism, right? Basically sort of like took over the YouTube discourse. This is when you had like retards like Sam Harris and fucking who else was in like new atheism? There's a bunch of fucking people being like, actually we don't really, Steven Pinker, we don't really need religion, bros, right?
Worked on me. I was like, these guys know what they're talking about. Wow.
Yeah, well, how did that work out, right?
Awful. I regret it.
We don't need God, right? Why would society need God, right? 10 years later, like, would you like to revise your position somewhat? Right.
From his 2016 book.
So Lindsay basically went hard into sort of hard materialism, and he wrote this book called Everybody is Wrong About God, which honestly, I think he should have like titled Everybody But Me is Wrong About God, right? Now, as the academics would say, we have to situate this work in the time and the culture in which it was produced. So Lindsay's basic premise on this book, right, is that you should not be arguing with people who still believe in God, right? That's been decided, bros, right? We have decided that God doesn't exist, right? And arguing with the religious, right, just really sort of confirms their delusion, right? What we really need, bros, is instead to find out why these poor, unfortunate, retarded souls need such a fiction in their lives, bros. Why do they feel the need to make up a purely imaginary, magical...
I'm sorry, are you talking about Marx or James Lindsay right now? I'm confused. You're blurring the lines right now. Real quick, TDS 2016, Joe Rogan, just to show that by his own admission, by James Lindsay's own words, in 2016, when he wrote that book, what Fisk just said, the entire time, James Lindsay had TDS 2016, 2017.
Totally dead wrong about that. I had TDS. I had straight up. I was like on the floor, like
Trump derangement syndrome.
That's right. I thought
You
Trump
had it?
was the end of the world.
This is 2016?
16, 17, yeah.
Do we think that in 2018, that just magically went away if he had it so hard writhing around on the ground? So he still has TDS. As he's coming up with the anti-communism stuff, he's still a foaming leftist. Now, usually when you hear leftist, you think anti-capitalist. Fellas, you have to be right-wing. This is what happens when you're anti-communist and you're still centrist left. You're still afraid of racism and afraid of anti-Semitism. To be right-wing in the most broad sense means you allow yourself to experience the elevated consciousness of going, racism is just anti-white, anti-Semitism is just anti-white. The Black Hebrew Israelites don't lose their jobs when they're being anti-Semitic. It's just meant to control white people. That's what being right-wing is. That is the baseline. Anything outside of that, we can talk about it. But this is the line in the sand, because he's heralded as this great intellectual, and he did great work with anti-communism. But the issue is that he wasn't right-wing. He still has guilt. He's still afraid of being called a racist or being called an anti-Semite. He doesn't understand all these Hitler memes and stuff, which is to say, fuck you, call me whatever you want. I don't give a shit. You don't control me anymore. So I really want to paint this in the light that he has fucking ferocious TDS. The TDS went away, but he never found his balls to be a man.
Well, I mean, there's that clip we found about that dude on Matt Gates' show.
God,
what's his
so
name?
many
Villa
fucking clips.
VR.
They're all fucking important.
So many. Anyway, this guy's basically saying that, in his opinion, right, James wanted to be part of the Trump administration, presumably so he could guide it and make sure it didn't get too right wing, right? And then got really butthurt when the administration was like, yeah, we don't want you, because he wasn't a Christian and he was going around telling Christians, oh, you're a real Christian, oh, you're not a real Christian. Christians don't he wouldn't do it with the Jews. Imagine if he was going around being like, oh, I'm not a Jew, right? But you're a real Jew and you're not a real Jew. You can imagine. You get disappeared.
You got
They find him
Benjamin
in the
Boyce.
tunnels under
Benjamin
fucking New
Boyce
York.
in the chat, bro. Benjamin, you're coming up, buddy. Ben's coming
What up,
up
Ben?
in a clip.
Good to see you.
Benjamin Boyce had James Lindsay on a podcast. They've done dozens and dozens of hours of content together. Even as early as I think maybe 2 years ago, February, beginning of 2023, Benjamin Boyce hosted a debate between Sargon, Carl Benjamin, and James Lindsay. So something changed. We'll get to it. We're definitely going to get to it. So he has TDS. So now if you want to show the, we could just go to Michael O'Fallon if you want, the 2019. So this is important because James Lindsay knows what it's like to be on the receiving end of media manipulation, as he says, and the person who owns his website, New Discourses, Michael O'Fallon, in 2019, he was calling him he thought he was a white nationalist. And he also carried that to the end of 2019. So he has TDS in 2016, 2017. He's still calling this guy who he ends up working with, Michael O'Fallon, sovereign nations. All of a sudden, James Lindsay doesn't know what the word fucking sovereign means, even though he fucking works with the guy in charge of sovereign nations. But yeah, just play some of this clip. I think it's really important.
Sovereign is he who decides upon the state of exception. Oh my God. Woke right in the his-ome. I can't believe it. Oh, I need to be purged. I need to be deprogrammed.
New Discourses,
okay,
which is owned by Christian nationalist commentator Michael O'Fallon. Let me just dispel some myths here real quick. You guys that are New Discourses followers know this, but Michael O'Fallon does not own New Discourses. We are, with one other person, co-owners of this. For anybody who cares, my share of the company is much larger than his. I own the company. He helps own the company. He registered the domain name on the internet, and so the domain is listed in his name. He owns, technically, I guess, the website domain. Okay. That doesn't mean he owns the company. It's stupid. He is a co-owner, but that's beside the point.
And it's this sort of thing that, right, you just go from 1 to 10 immediately, right? If you let the Christian nationalists or anyone who like, is an actual Christian near power, before you know it, right, you'll have basically the Christian version of Saudi Arabia ruling the entirety of the US. How the fuck would that happen? I remember when he was banging on about this shit before the election, right? I had a friend who's like a Lindsayite, was like sending me all this, Project 2025, right? They're going to like do the Handmaid's Tale. And I was just like, how?
I know.
Like, literally describe to me the political process by which this could be affected,
But
right?
notice
Like
how-
it's like what they're going to overthrow the Constitution, and like what they're going to get the army to support this, right? Like what they're one day they're going to go baptize the entire
This is
US
recorded
army.
in February of 2023. So he's still like blah 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 Christian nationalist, blah blah blah. Still not an issue yet. That doesn't come until later. So still in 2023, this is when he's hitting peak popularity. I think he was banned from Twitter August of 2022, and he may have gotten reinstated when Elon took over, maybe September of 2022. So now he's back on social media. He's back on X for like 5 months, and he is fucking growing his brand. He is fucking killing it with anti-communism. And it's, Trump's not president yet. This is 2023. So this is when we had to hear it. And then I'm like, man, if Trump wins, we can really bury the left. But as we find out, something happened. We'll try and postulate as to what it is, but let's go.
Right, another super chat from Deadpool Kid for
mate.
$5.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would love to ask James about Sabbatean Franks who believed in salvation through sin.
He disregards them.
He disregards them, right? As far as I know, James has never read Gerhard Scholem, right? Who is like the best Jewish historian there is, right? You want to understand like Jewish history, like after the Spanish expulsion, read Sabbatai Zevi by Scholem. It will break your brain. Like it is a really complicated book, but also like amazing, right? Like I don't think James has ever read any of that shit, right? So and Scholem also did a great book on the Frankists. It sounds like Canada is basically going the same way as like Australia and the UK, and they're just gonna like basically take all your shit.
He says it's getting traction in Canada. Benjamin Netanyahu just mentioned the woke right. Jonathan Greenblatt mentioned the woke right. John Stossel mentioned the woke right. So it's global. Those are people influential enough to carry the woke right thing globally, which we'll get to. We'll postulate.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It's coming. It's coming. Mate, we're not even halfway through.
Go!
God.
To watch you fall off this cliff. The only problem is that, like, literally, like, I'm almost like giddy about seeing you people fall into the Fed net that you're walking into. Like, are you fucking stupid? Christian nationalism, like that's already like a watch term on like the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice website for domestic terrorism and right-wing extremism. Are you freaking idiots? And so Peter's like all into this. He calls me this, Christian guy wants to get us there. He wants to pay for everything. It's going to be great. And Peter believed he was going to become this big funder for us and give us all this money, which we've been accused of, which turns out not to be true. Michael was an early investor in creating new discourses, but he didn't fund it. He invested to get all of his money back. We paid him back. Like, what the hell?
So what do you need funding for? What did Chris Rufo or Billboard Chris need funding for? Like, they didn't have to make a company. It's like, you write articles, you make videos. What do you need funding for? That's the weird part.
Well, this raises another question, right? Supposedly, somebody funded the grievance studies affairs, an anonymous
you're right.
benefactor, right? But James has not revealed who that is. I'm not saying necessarily that's a sinister thing, right? You got to remember at the time this was going on, right? Like, it was at the height of lefty cancel shit, right? But, maybe James just needed to be paid, right? Because he didn't have another job and it was like, so this is going to be a full-time thing. I don't know.
He was big enough in 2019 to do his own thing. To just, release stuff online. And you see new discourses now, and it's just James Lindsay. The first 6 videos on new discourses are Peter Boghossian going out and having conversations, new discourses, and that guy got the fuck out very early.
What happened to Peter? He noped out of that thing.
Time around James is what it seems
fast.
like. And we all learn these lessons at different times, apparently, but keep going.
Mm-hmm. $10 from the Flying Scudman. It's more it's about way more than them critiquing everything. Again, read Dr. McDonald to fully understand the MQ.
The MQ, dude! You fucking kidding me? Took me a fucking second. I love how it's the MQ. We say moo to not say the word, but now we're not even saying the fucking letter.
The Grievance Studies Affair just came out. We're trying to curate our image because we don't want to get shut down and ignored. Like, to go to a far-right evangelical Christian conference at the time we perceived as likely to be extraordinarily bad PR. For the left-wing circles, we thought it was crucial. The academic circles, we thought it'd be crucial. Take it seriously. The goal was to not have the Grievance Studies Affair be just dismissed as this right-wing propaganda. And so, because it wasn't, but at any rate, so we were super careful. So I go Google Michael O'Fallon. I've never heard of this guy. And I find the Media Matters article calling him a Christian nationalist. And this is a real point I want to get to. Not only is Michael not
A Media Matters article.
I mean,
in 2019.
Media Matters, probably the most notorious Jewish political mercenary in the American scene. Brock will work for anyone if you pay him enough. Which begs the question: why were Media Matters doing a hit job on Michael O'Fallon?
Okay, well,
Right?
Sovereign
I
Nation's
presume-
nationalist, and he's a Christian nationalist. You have to remember, this was at a time, I know Ben remembers this, it's what James is talking about. Anyone was a white supremacist. They were going crazy with that shit in the federal government. That was like the number one thing they were watching out for. Fuck right wing. You fucking tough to be white during that time. So they were fucking spray gunning anyone they could on the right with being a white supremacist, a Christian nationalist, which James Lindsay understands. And so now he just changed it to the woke right. He understands how that shapes people's minds. And it's a malicious tactic that I can't respect.
I don't know.
But that
right?
tricked James Lindsay, okay? That tricked him. They said it, and he went, oh, okay, then you said it, then it must be true. In 2019, okay? We're still pretty TDS-y, I would say.
That implies a lack of political discernment. I'm just
absolutely.
saying, right?
This is why this Christian nationalist thing is so stupid. Now, remember, left-leaning, but I've already done the Grievance Studies Affair, so I'm somewhat red-pilling, but I haven't red-pilled for sure yet. Not even close. Not even close. But I'm red-pilling, but I'm a center-left academic who's involved in kind of culture war space, right? And I read on the Media Matters saying that Michael O'Fallon is a Christian nationalist. And what did my brain do? Well, I called Peter back immediately. I said, Peter, we cannot do this. We cannot work with this guy. We absolutely cannot work with Michael O'Fallon. Do you know why? He's a white nationalist. Did you hear what my brain did? My brain read Christian nationalist and it transformed it into white nationalist.
Pause it.
I was utterly convinced.
What do you think happens in a person's mind when they hear woke right?
Yeah.
And it's even more amorphous. They hear Nazi. What else would they think? They just think the most extreme right thing possible because the woke left are communists. So then the woke right was fascist. So it's a pussy way of putting this idea in people's heads without having to take accountability for these fucking accusations. And that's why people are mad at you, James. That's why they're frustrated with you. There's legitimate criticisms against you. That's what's frustrating, is because you're being shifty like a leftist, and you try to back you into a corner, and you just change what words mean. And it's getting in the way of a cohesive right-wing identity. You're fucking with people who need an identity right now. Is people on the right wing, okay? Countries are getting invaded. Let them think and decide what they want to do instead of you trying to poison the well constantly.
And the other thing as well, right, is to admit, right, that he was gulled by such a simple trick, right? And yet to be 100% sure that every single person that he deems woke right is in fact woke right.
Just over a year later, he starts pushing the woke right shit, maybe less than a year and a half later. He's pushing the woke right shit after saying this.
You would think, right, that he would be sort of more, what's the word I'm looking for? Right, like, you know, like after this thing with O'Fallon, right, and thinking that he was an extremist and then becoming his friend, perhaps he would be a little bit more resistant to like labeling other people as extremists, but apparently not.
And I think I went this far as to say the dude's a Nazi. Michael's not a Nazi. This is ridiculous. But this is why I'm bringing this up. First of all, how did I meet Michael O'Fallon? Now you know how I met Michael O'Fallon. So I'll finish the story of meeting him, but then this is why I bring it up. I bring it up because my left-leaning centrist brain translated Christian nationalist into white nationalist immediately. Like it was like they're synonyms. Because for left-leaning center people, they're synonyms. They've been ingrained for a long time, maybe decades, into believing Christian nationalism is a euphemism for white nationalism, which is exactly what the so-called extremist stuff is targeting with the Department of Justice, the state of Washington, the Department of Homeland Security, the military, white nationalist organizations, white nationalist extremism, etc. It doesn't matter what the reality is. Do you not understand this? The overwhelming reflexive attitude in the public when they hear Christian nationalism, if they are center, if they're low information, which they are, and you are not going to easily change that, and if they especially lean left, is they're going to hear Christian nationalist and transform it into white nationalist or associate it with white nationalist immediately. I did that to Michael. Anyway, which CPAC, freaking really this is the most controlled opposition bullshit ever. Remember how last year the thing was awake, not woke? And then like I got recommended to be a speaker like by 10 different people that are like on the speaker committee. And then I didn't speak, even though like awake, not woke is literally my brand. I'm like literally the guy. And I was literally physically there, but I didn't invite to speak.
Triple shot with the literalies. He speaks like a teenage girl. So
actually,
that aspect there. Yeah.
Ben posted something quite interesting. James has become postmodernist. Everything is subjective assertion, constantly defining and redefining terms to align with his will to power / correctness. Yeah.
Well, that's.
I mean, you can see this basically happening in real time in this clip.
Yeah. Well, my main criticism has been there's no truth factor in what he's saying. He's just saying he unironically views everything through a dialectical lens. He's not saying, he used to be saying, this is how Marxists view reality. He is now viewing reality that way, and he assumes since this is happening on the left, it must be happening on the right. That's purely ideological. That's not how reality works. The right might have elements of something. There's no gray to him. It's black and white. He's splitting. So now he's unironically viewing everything through a dialectical lens. And so there's no truth value to what he's saying. He's just saying these are their grievances. And it's like, oh, well, okay, let's entertain them for a second. On the left, they're lying about their fucking grievances. Okay, hey, what's the opposite? On the right, the fucking grievances are legitimate. Look, this is why he just ate his balls on fucking people flooding into the UK, and he doesn't give a fuck about what's happening to them. It's completely ideological to him, and he doesn't understand this fucking childlike autism that people are like, oh, dude, that really doesn't sit well with us at all. And he's like, oh, fucking fuck you, dude. It's age regression. He's age regression.
After spending so much time, right, documenting shit like CRT, right, and documenting like, you know, actual sort of discrimination against whites in all of these like places, right? All of a sudden, oh no, that's not real, right? Like, you know, if you want to do anything about it, right? Oh, that's work, right? You know, I was like, fuck off, man. My God.
Saying even with Antifa ravaging cities, it's the biggest problem, the biggest extremism problem in our country. Our country is literally being taken over from within by communism.
There we go.
And by corporate communism at that.
Yep.
State corporatism or whatever we're supposed to call it.
I like this guy in 2013. Yes.
Public-private partnership, stakeholder capitalism. It's neo-communism. It's literally being overtaken by extremists who will destroy this country from within. And yet we have cities being burned even this month because of Antifa. And they won't name that even as an organization that exists. It's an idea, remember? But white nationalism is the biggest seat of biggest domestic terror threat in the country. And the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and military are not only believing.
I love how he like completely just says, right, the government is co-opted. They won't even name Antifa. Right. Yes. But then turns around and says, oh, everything the government says about white nationalism must be objectively correct. Like, what the hell, man?
That's the switch. So right here, I'm like, yeah, cool. So what do we do about this? And then I'm getting pushed more. He's pushing people more right wing by saying this. It's like, yeah, they're making up that there's this resurgence of white nationalism, whatever you want to call it, to suppress white people. And we're ignoring the violence in the streets. This is why I say they want you afraid of what right-wingers say to ignore what the violence the left wing enacts. I got that from James Lindsay. I get a lot of things conclusions, not things he said, but he's helped me come to conclusions about a lot of things that I still say to this very day, because I thought we were both on the same page. I thought we were like, fuck the left shit. The reason why it's important to talk about James Lindsay is because he's constantly shoving his nose into getting in the way of developing a cohesive right wing, a cohesive international right wing. An international right wing is, I want Carl Benjamin to take care of his shit in the UK, and he wants me to take care of my shit in the United States. He has a country, I have a fucking country. That's an international right wing.
I actually think he's helping, to be honest.
He is helping.
He is
Flynn razor.
by making such a retarded defense of liberalism, right? And just, you know, exposing like just the insane exceptions and contradictions in his arguments. He is actually, you know, strengthening the right wing. I'm sure that's not his intention, but
how are you a liberal?
Is what he's doing.
You don't debate. All liberals have is the marketplace of ideas and debating. Like fucking Christopher Hitchens. Like these atheist debaters. And like, he has nothing. None of his followers, none of them debate. He can't even play a video of what Carl Benjamin says and comment on it. Yet he has this company of new discourses where he doesn't even take a fucking video of himself. He's just recording audio of himself. What do you need this whole fucking thing for? Anyways, so now we can move on to when he talked to Benjamin Button himself, okay?
Okay.
I think this was February of 2020.
Yeah.
Mind you, James Lindsay was still iffy about Michael O'Fallon at the end of 2019. And now the domain for New Discourses was purchased in July of 2019 by Michael O'Fallon. So Michael O'Fallon purchases the New Discourses domain in 2019. James Lindsay, for 4 or 5 months, is still like, I don't quite trust this guy because I'm such a demoralized fucking pussy and can't think for myself. So he's still like, I don't know, but he's still working with them. But he's like, I kind of want to hide it.
So what if people think I'm right wing? Oh my God.
Going into 2020. So he's talking to Benjamin Boyce, still probably pretty iffy about, he's just got over his saucy feelings about Michael O'Fallon. And so now he's talking about the progenation of New Discourses.
It's of this.
And look at the stars in Benjamin's eyes when he's talking to James. They used to be so cute. You can see how excited Ben is. And it's so tragic that James won't talk to him. I mean it. You can tell how excited he is because he went through some fucking bullshit at Evergreen. And he's like, I'm so glad I met someone that wants to talk to me. We hit it off. We have good chemistry, and who can articulate these fucked up, like how we felt about James Lindsay, articulating the fucked up things that we went through. Ben Boyce, like, man, I'm so fortunate that I get to fucking talk to him and just shoot the shit. And like, I don't know, it's tragic that James has turned out this way.
Yeah. Okay. I'll check the X messages. Okay, let's go.
Or wanting to make
production,
to make new. No, not specifically. Like I said, we've kind of been flirting with the idea of building a website, media resource, educational kind of business around the work that we're doing to aggregate the articles, the videos, and so on. And over the course of last year, we did a lot of discussion about what that might look like. And sometime late in the summer, we decided that this thing that you've seen, New Discourses, at newdiscourses.com is the way we're going to go, kind of a media educational site where we're going to provide articles and lots of educational resources and various other, things that people can read either to understand what's going on with critical social justice better, or that they can go put into application, to try to address the problem as it comes up where they are. And eventually, and hopefully even immediately, we can talk also about issues that reach beyond just critical social justice and talk about basically anything that's constraining our discourses, as it were. So the site's called New Discourses. And the idea is that our political conversation's basically screwed. So we want to expand that, and anything that's screwing it, we want to basically be there to shed some light on it.
So this is February 25th, 2020. The oldest videos on the New Discourses YouTube is 6 videos by Peter Boghossian actually going out and talking to people, actually having new discourses, as James Lindsay is saying, to change the conversation. In November 7th of 2019. So months before he's even having this conversation, they're already making content. It seems like Peter was like, okay, well, I'm not afraid to do this. Let's hit it off with New Discourses. And then James Lindsay just subsumed New Discourses pretty much after his conversation with Ben. They posted old clips and stuff like that, but there's no collaborations with Helen Pluckrose, with fucking Peter Boghossian. There's nothing. It's just James
Yep.
Lindsay after that. I don't know
Yep.
what happened. I don't know why he needs this funding when he's just adding shit to a fucking website. Who else is on there? And if somebody is going to contribute, I don't know, it's like it's fucking $10.99, right? Like, it's what is the point of this? It seems like he really wanted to gravitate toward the religious aspect because that's what he's leveraging now. I can't think of what else it would be. There's no need for this money. There's no sponsors that are paying $6,000 for a fucking conference that less than 100 people fucking attended. And none of them push their sponsorships and say, hey, here's my table here. I'm sponsoring this. It's a very insular group of people. And it's very suspicious.
I mean, in 2020, in 19 or whichever it was that I finally realized I was going to vote for Trump for the first time, I realized it was my wife saying that she was going to vote for Trump. She didn't convince me. She said, I'm going to vote for him. And her attitude, if anybody knows my wife, her deal is always like, I don't really care what you think. Here's what I'm going to do. She's super based. She's like, I'm going to vote for him. And I was like, I felt it took me a couple of days to realize what she gave me, but she gave me permission to admit that I was too.
So in 2019, 2020, he's like, oh, I don't know if I want to tell my wife that I'm going to vote for Trump. So like, he never made the push to be right wing. And this is what happens. When you're anti-communist, it's not enough to be anti-communist. You have to be right-wing. Because if you're not right-wing, you're still going to be like, should I tell my wife I'm going to vote? What's she going to do? Peg you? What's she going to do, dude? How are you so fucking nervous about telling your wife? And she's like super, like she sounds like she wears the fucking pants in the relationship, dude. Like grow a fucking spine. And I'm only talking about him like this because of all the fucking shit he talks about people now. And he sucks at talking shit. I'm assuming Billboard Chris Rufo, a lot of them aren't the best at talking shit, so they don't. They keep it professional. And so James Lindsay keeps digging himself into a hole, picking fights with people when he has no spine in the first place.
Wasn't he already exiled from academia? I just don't understand.
Yes,
I mean, maybe it's because, he's like living in Knoxville and, it's, maybe the place he lives is kind of like quite lefty and he, doesn't want it to get around. Anti-communism is sort of a safe lefty position because you can still be, I'm against communism, but I'm not a racist, guys. Yeah, I'm not I'm still like you, right? I just don't like Stalin.
It's like heroin. You're going to relapse. If you still think about racism, you're going to relapse. You have to get away from it. You have to say, that's not a thing. It has to not affect you because he's still demoralized. He can't, I don't know what's going on in his head, but 2020, pretty much 2020, all of 2020 and all of 2023, this guy is soaring to the fucking moon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now people are thinking he's more right-wing than he actually might be because he's anti-communist. And we have two things in society, commie and not commie, but he was trying to do the non-commie center-left classical liberalism, which I tried out. Fellas, I've tried the left. I've tried the classical liberal. You have to be right-wing. Please fucking trust me. It'll speed up so many things for you. Huntington Kissinger, who is, I would say we could agree, Israel-friendly.
Absolutely. He has a great and abiding love for the nation. I mean, like he's Jewish, right? I mean, he interviewed Netanyahu. Like, I really think at this point, right? If you interview Netanyahu, right? Netanyahu does not do adversarial interviews.
He held his feet to the fire, dude. Come on, you're not getting any journalistic respect.
Yeah, he got a light tan on his feet.
Really? Did you think he'd be able to fit both of his balls over his tongue? I didn't. He tried his hardest. He gave it his all. He gave it his balls. So
this is Kissinger from February 17th, 2024, right? And this is this correct, Artie, that this is one of the first uses of the term woke right? Is this what you're pointing out with this?
In terms of the rhetoric and propaganda of how it's used now, yes. Technically, Hotep Jesus on January 3rd of 2024 made a video about it. It is not used in the same way. There's some instances in 2023 of people saying it. The way that it's used now, this is the first instance of it in terms of Tucker Carlson's woke right. Whoever was saying woke right wasn't saying this huge person is woke right.
So Ben makes this good point that he started to warn against right-wing overreach in 2023. I presume this is late 2023. And that, I presume that's when he started talking about Christian nationalism. But the actual invention of the term woke right.
Ben, can we get a month roughly? Yeah, when in 2023? I'm trying to put everything on a timeline to make sense of it. I have numbers autism. So, I mean, if it's January versus December, because it started to be very woke righty at the beginning of 2024, and the only thing I had to connect it, which is why I don't make this like confidently talk about it, but since October 7th, I mean, what other huge thing happened? And he's very on the side of Israel now. So, I mean, these things, correlation is equal causation, but it's weird that he is like dying. He backed himself into a corner that's on a hill and is dying in the corner on the hill. I want to know what draws someone to self-sabotage to this extent.
It happens really dumb. President Trump, this was before the election. I had decided not to talk about this issue of the radical right, thinking the election might be somewhat existential. Until after the election.
He's acting like he wasn't talking about the fucking woke right, okay? Do you have the search term for searching his account for the fucking woke right? I do. Before September 30th? But I
mean, presumably James is saying, right, he didn't try and blow it up the way that he blew up the German thing. Oh, mate, I love this meme.
Woke right be like Jews. I didn't want to antagonize them. There was an election coming up, and then what date was that? What date was that?
It's the Jews!
What date was that?
September 14th, 2024.
So this incident that he's going to be talking about was on September 30th. Keep scrolling through. This is all woke right, September 15th, September 15th. He's actually starting his woke right spurting before this fucking election or event even happens, where the archangle fucking thing.
Dude. I mean, this is the thing,
about it.
Right? He's saying, right, that he wasn't signal boosting this because of the election. But look at this. September 15th, 2 tweets. September 16th, 2 tweets. A week later, the woke right is a growing problem.
This is just September. This isn't.
September
I haven't
14th.
shown you before September. What is this? He's about texting, messaging about the woke right, posting about the woke right, fucking 20 times in September at least in fucking 3 or 4 days. So he's caught up in a whirlwind. Now, the first time he mentions the woke right is 2 months after Konstantin Kisin releases this article. And he's just mentioning in passing. So to give him the best degree of charitability, in April when he mentions the woke right, he's like, there's this thing called the woke right, and then he's throughout the summer, it was a white boy summer for James, he starts fucking spurging about him in the summer, and then come the fall, come when the leaves are changing, he is doing what he's doing now at the end of 2024. And people are getting a little concerned, okay?
Yep.
I mean, Tim Pool was not associating with him at the beginning of 2024. And then he went on Joe Rogan. That Joe Rogan clip that we showed you at the beginning, that's March of 2014. So we have overlap of he's still getting boosted, but the big name people aren't seeing his fucking behavior online. And it is
You mean March of 2024?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said 2014. Yeah, right. March of 2024.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But what I started to notice was that the right was getting really ornery through September and in August of last year, and was starting to activate in the direction to where it was getting harder and harder for me to restrain wanting to say something. Like, there's a problem here. And what I see is this movement, which is a very small sub-movement, but a very motivated sub-movement of MAGA more broadly, is now mobilizing to take advantage of whatever happens in the election.
Perfect. The right's in charge. Time to use the hammer of the right to go after the left. And all of a sudden, while leftists are, I'm not exaggerating, my account got fucking banned, so I had a record of this, but as leftists are lighting Teslas on fire, James is literally saying, did you see what Groyper 1488 said? He's like, bro, the left, what are you doing? We have power. This is why I'm saying, dude, he's afraid to wield fucking power. As soon as the right has power, he's like, it's so fucking Marxist, time to attack the right because the right's in power. That feels like a switch.
Peterson did exactly the same thing, right? Like, Peterson's suddenly worried about, what toilet Groyper 1488 is like.
They're lighting fucking cars on fire.
Right?
Here's the thing. In February of 2023, he's talking about how Antifa is committing violence in the streets, and we're focused on Christian nationalists. So he's doing the things that he was making fun of and criticizing, acting like he has no fucking idea.
Well, yeah, but it's the dialectic, bro. You know what I mean, right? Like, you know, everything is a I am convinced, by the way, that thinking in the dialectic, particularly for Gentiles, induces like brain derangement, right? That, like, you know, you can get like too far into dialectical thinking, and it can like start bleeding in to everything. You know, you become like a dialectic spurg.
With him, I see what you're saying, where he's creating this dire sense of losing the country. And, you know, when a fascist does that, we call them fascists and go, well, obviously people are going to commit violence if they think they're losing the country. But he's not giving any of that rhetoric, but it's the inception of extremism by definition. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, that's right. I mean, this is the other thing, though, right? Like, surely that way of thinking, like divorced from any political power, would also cause you to like just sort of like start losing your shit, right? Like, you know, I mean, especially if you had the illusion of some political power, right? Like, you know, it's one thing to be completely locked out of the political process and be like, well, doesn't really matter what I say, right? Like, even if everything's like going to crap. But if you actually start believing that what you say could make a difference, right? Like, you could be the difference between life and death.
You strap a bomb to your chest? How do you be the difference,
straight up,
though? There's like no method. They're completely stagnant.
That's actually straight up Scientology, right? Scientology uses that trick like a lot.
So maybe I just didn't word it correctly. It's like, no, you implied that General Mike Flynn might be evil because he was like, bro, it's just let us celebrate this holiday. Who gives a fuck? It's not a threat. This is the issue. I found the crux of the issue. James Lindsay started doing what the left did, which is focus on things and acting like they're a threat when they're not a fucking mortal threat. It's irritating. It's very frustrating.
Imagine if like Greenblatt like tweeted out something for some like Jewish holiday, right? Like James turns around and is like, you know, the Frankists like used this holiday, right? And it meant,
that would be
like,
based because it's actually fucking threatening and true.
Right, you know, like he does like a Candace Owens kind of thing. He's like, you know, the Frankists like also celebrated this holiday, right? Oh my god! So wait, hang on, we're looking for the tweet.
Yes.
Yeah. Operation Michael is designed to undermine the anti-woke right.
I'll start cutting my. You fucking read this thing, dude. Just scroll down. I get it. People are fucking doing shit. I get it, dude. So scroll down. It wasn't.
Oh my god, this is so long. Holy shit.
I know. This is what he does. And then you have to read all of it and agree with all of it. So, General Mike Flynn, you're nuts. Yesterday was the Feast of St. Michael. Can't you simply appreciate a prayer instead of spewing your philosophical bullshit? Because he expects everybody, like, the most people do not read your long block of text on X. If you don't have autism, you just understand that. Most people go, that's a bunch of fucking shit. Why should I read it? So he just sees that and goes, yeah, dude, what are you doing? Like, it's a fucking holiday. Let us celebrate the holiday. Who gives a fuck? It's not a threat. You're trying to morph what this means.
Just calls Michael Flynn a theosophist. Like, just asserts, right? You're not a Catholic. You're a theosophist. How the fuck would you know this? Right? Like, you know, and by the way, this is very, very offensive to Catholics or, you know, Christians generally. And this starts the arc for which he becomes known for, right? And just, it starts tanking his popularity because
Michael Flynn's profile, real quick.
He goes around and he's just basically saying to people, oh, you know, you're not a real Christian. Everyone's like, but you're a fucking atheist, right? Like
2.1 million followers.
Yeah.
It's not just some schlub he's talking to.
Yeah. Yeah.
James Lindsay has the hierarchy over everybody else in his mind. He's not speaking to anybody else like they're above him. Like, he's above you in terms of the religion. Like, know your place, chill, and just be like, yeah, I said it. I should wait to say this. I'm sorry to ruin your holiday. Okay. But, like, this guy is a popular guy, and
Yep.
people are going to be like, hey, what are you doing? And then he just lashes out at everybody around him like a fucking wounded dog, dude. What happened to him? Who hurt you, James? I know Marxists usually say this to somebody when they have no argument. I want to know who wounded you so badly, where you have to lash out on anyone that disagrees with you to imply that he's fucking evil. This is where he plummets. He's starting to nosedive a little bit.
Yep.
Fucking September 30th of 20, he probably has a tattooed on him somewhere. This is where it all started fucking going downhill in an extreme way, because then the fucking and then like Ben said, then the election happens, and then he starts completely going after the right. But he's fucking lying, dude. He acts like this was the catalyst. It wasn't. He was talking shit about the woke right months before this. So either he doesn't remember, or he just is so divorced from the truth that he's making things up, whether or not he knows it, but you deserve to be criticized. And this is people's fucking problem with him, because if he was just doing that, it would be one thing. But what he's doing is getting in the way and trying to interfere with a right-wing consciousness and a right-wing reality and white people getting together and advocating for themselves. He can call him liberal and say, I disagree with you. But the liberal position is you have the right to do that, whether or not I agree with it. That's the liberal position. Is whites get to collectivize because everybody else is. That would be the liberal position, but he's doing something that's very nefarious, and it rubs people the wrong way. Let's hear his interpretation of what happened here.
And further in this narrative. So I said, oh my God, they're canceling me over that, which means they were waiting for something to cancel me over, because it's too stupid to cancel me over that. So they're trying to take me off the table in advance of this power grab that I believe they're going to.
Again, it is not stupid. Right? You disrespected all of the Catholics, right? And then when they told you that you disrespected them, right? You said, oh,
So-
you must be evil. You're not real Christians.
This is what I'm saying about age regression. Are you trying to make it sound like you're talking to a 7-year-old right now? Because that's how you sound explaining this. But it's so obvious that it's like you're explaining it. You're literally explaining it to James Lindsay like he's 7 years old. I don't think you're trying to be condescending, but how do you not understand why people were so mad at you?
The other Paul for $5 Australian. Thank you very much, mate. Timmy didn't invite me to his Mario Kart 64 birthday party. This is actually a cancellation.
So don't beat your wife. Listen to Artie and Fist Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern instead. Link in the description. Goodbye.